Hi everyone, I'm Chris Mullins and I'm the European Product Manager for Professional BRAVIA, and it's the next episode in our video series called BRAVIA Built for Professionals, where I'm going to take you through some of the core differentiation points between our professional displays and our consumer displays that you see in the home and where they differ. So we're going to go into some of those details. Also going to take you through some of the kind of fine-tuning points within our Pro mode, where I'll give you a bit more detail, so we'll get into the bones of that as well. So to start, I want to show you what's physically different between the Pro BRAVIA displays versus a consumer display. So one of the more subtle things that you may not realize is that in professional environments, you want a really discrete bezel with your display. You don't want to have a big Sony logo at the bottom because you want to just focus on the content and the information that's being shared there. So with these professional BRAVIAs, we actually have the logo on the side of the display, so that can be hidden to be more discreet. Alongside that, we also have installation flexibility with these displays. So you can install them, obviously landscape like this, but also you can put them in portrait mode. You can tilt them back and forth if you're using a totem or a touch overlay, for example, to give you more flexibility to display the information in the format that you wish. And with regards to reliability, our professional displays are built to be used in high usage environments where they're on for many hours a day. So these are actually warranted for 24/7 usage, and they come with a 3-year warranty as standard. And that includes actually advanced replacements, so that if you have any issue or fault with your display, you can call our Elite Help Desk and they will send you an advanced replacement to minimize the downtime of your display at your installation. So now I'd like to talk to you about the integration and how the display can be configured ready for your solution. So with all of our professional BRAVIAs, we have full IP control and connectivity, and we also have RS-232 control, so that when it's integrated into one of your systems, they can be fully controlled and monitored via either of those systems. Alongside that, we also have something called Pro Mode, which enables you to fully customize your display, so you can decide how it reacts when it turns on, what apps are visible. Do you want to lock the display? Do you want to change the input source when a certain action happens? You can do all of those with Pro Mode, and I'm going to show you a couple of those now in a bit more detail. So what I'm showing you here is actually our Pro Mode tool that's on the BRAVIA. So if I go back to the home page here, this is what you see once you've done your initial setup for the BRAVIA, and you see something called Pro Mode tool as an app. So if you click on that, you will start off in normal mode, but you can click on Pro Settings mode to switch to that professional settings where you can configure your BRAVIA display. Then you can go back to home and go to settings. And this enables this new Pro Settings menu at the top here. So without activating that, you will not be able to see this in normal mode. If you go into Pro Settings, you get the ability to fully customize many different aspects of your display. So I'm not going to talk you through all of them now, but I'm just going to highlight a few of these in a bit more detail, so you get a feeling for what's possible with our Pro Mode on our professional BRAVIAs. One of the things that's super useful for people is something called the BRAVIA Web Control UI. And what this enables you to do is to access the BRAVIA over the network and access all the settings, whether it's the standard settings on the BRAVIA or the Pro Mode settings remotely, so from a network location. So once that's set up, it gives you many flexible options to configure the display remotely. So I'm going to show you how that's set up. So if you go to Pro Settings and you go to Startup Services, you can go to this one called BRAVIA Web Control UI. So if you click on that and then you click Enable. So it's already enabled on this display. When you do it for the first time, it will ask you to install the app and restart the device, but that takes maybe 1 minute to do, so it's very quick to do that. Alongside that being active, you also need to go down and set an admin password for the display and input a password that you're going to remember for your display. So this is necessary so that you can access the web page during the setup. So input a password that works. So finally, once you've set up the web control UI service and you set up the admin password, you need to then set up your network settings. So if I go back to home and I go to settings, so this is within the usual network and internet settings. So when you go here, configure your Wi-Fi, set up your IP address or your Ethernet, and then you use that IP address to access the web UI. So once you've configured those 3 points, so you've set up the BRAVIA web control service, you've activated your admin password, and you've set up your network settings, you can then access the BRAVIA web control UI from the following URL. And once you're in the URL, you can then access all the settings of your BRAVIA and also monitor the current status. So you can see what the settings of the BRAVIA are currently. You can see all the settings within the standard BRAVIA settings menu, and also you can set the pro settings as well, all remotely over the network. And one of the advantages of this tool is you can also export your settings over the network to your local PC or device that you're accessing the web page from. And then you can then import those settings to another display. So it's super flexible from that point of view. So one thing when you're setting up your professional BRAVIA is you want to make it as quick and as seamless as possible for when you're doing your installation, to minimize the time it takes to get up and running, and you can get on delivering great content to your customers. And one setting we have in our professional BRAVIA is next to the Pro Mode tool, we have something called one-step setting. So if you click on this, you actually get two options here. You can basically set the display ready for meeting room use or for a signage use case. And basically, if you select either of these, it will set the most common features that you need for these displays. So for example, with a signage usage, you want the picture mode on Vivid, you want the input on HDMI, you want to have your IP control available, for example, and you want to have your power saving optimized to give you the best image quality on screen, for example. And then for meeting room use, you can have it the optimal settings for that as well. So it really is like one click. So I click on signage usage, and then it will configure the display ready to be used for signage. So the final thing I'd like to show you with the pro settings from BRAVIA is how do you secure your device? Because obviously these displays are going to be used maybe in a public area with signage or a shop, and you don't want people to tamper with your screen, you don't want them to mess with your settings or anything. So what you can do in Pro Mode is actually you can lock the system down in a number of ways. So the first thing you can do is you can enable or disable the control inputs. So if you go down to the display and remote control section, so you're able to, where relevant, you can disable the infrared remote or display controls, so the buttons on the physical display, or Bluetooth to make your device more secure. So you set that in Pro Mode, and then once you enable the Pro Mode from the Pro Settings menu at the very top, when you press Start Pro Mode, your infrared remote, your screen controls, or your Bluetooth will no longer be able to control the display. If you want to then use the infrared remote again with your display, you might have a bit of an issue because it no longer works. But what you can do is you can enter in the shortcut for Pro Mode on your remote control to reactivate the infrared remote. So if you press Information, Mute, Volume Up, and then Home in quick succession, you will activate Pro Mode settings again, and then your infrared remote will work during that session. And then alongside that, if you don't want someone to edit your Pro settings, you can also set up a Pro Mode lock. So if you want to control who can do this setting, you can set up a quick pin. So for example, 0001, and click OK, re-enter that pin. So the next time you want to change your Pro Mode settings, you'll need to input that pin so that it's more secure as well. But on the left-hand side, it actually gives you some very useful information. So whichever setting you actually use in Pro Mode, it gives you some information about what that setting does in much more detail. So if you're not sure, you can use this help on whatever the setting page is. But on the initial page, it also tells you about where these segments should be, where this display could be used in terms of segments. So corporate, education, signage, or hotel use. And also there's a very useful QR code here. So this is a QR code that takes you to our BRAVIA Professional Knowledge Center. So if you need any information about any of these settings, if you want a video about how Pro Mode works or the benefits of Pro Mode or any of the individual settings, you can go to this Knowledge Center URL via this QR code and access that web Knowledge Center. Thanks for watching this BRAVIA Built for Professionals video. I hope you found it useful. If you do need any more information, go to that Knowledge Center URL or to our pro.sony website to find more information. And I'll see you next time on the next video in this series.